here today to review the Voyages of Marco Polo.
That's right. So before we get started,
make sure you hit that subscribe button because you don't want to miss a moment of these games.
Second.
Not. You just missed one. If you haven't already hit the subscribe button, you just missed your opportunity.
Oh.
But you can still do it.
Because you hit the notification bell, which will then tell you when the next game is.
Exactly. All right. Well, so what do we know about this game? Oh,
welcome, Melissa.
Oh, yes. She's always welcome.
Well, absolutely. But welcome to our review of Voyages of Marco Polo. So, Voyages of Marco Polo came out in 2015. It's a Board Game Geek rating is 7.9. MSRP is $59.99, but it'll probably be a hard time finding this one because the second game came out about a year ago, so Marco Polo 2. Designed by Simone Luciani, Danielle Tassini, art by Dennis Lohausen, published by Z-Man Games. Plays 2 to 4, has 3 expansions to the original version, and then Marco Polo 2 is out as well. So, there you go.
All right. So this has, as far as the quality of components, has a rather large board.
Mm-hmm.
It's got a lot of dice. It's
dice per color player,
yes.
So you got 5 for each person, plus other dice. You got black dice and white dice, and there's lots of dice.
And you got 2-dimensional dice.
That's right.
And you got camels with no legs.
They are camel loaves.
Yes, they seem to get around pretty well.
Yeah, they do. There's a lot of traveling on the loaves of camels.
I'm assuming they're rolled along
on a skateboard.
On a skateboard, okay,
or a hoverboard.
Sure.
I don't believe the Voyages of Marco Polo were journeyed on a hoverboard. I'm
know
pretty
that.
sure they didn't have that technology.
They might have had magic. Oh, like they had skateboards.
Well,
so that's completely believable. But
it's more plausible than hoverboards.
All you have to do is take a flat board and put wheels on it. It doesn't have to be what we think of as a skateboard.
It's not the Voyages of Marty McFly. All right. So as far as the components, you've got meeples that are shaped with little hats leaning to the side to show they're Italian, apparently.
Then you got little houses and that are colored, but other than that, they're all the same for each player.
Yeah.
You got shaped resources. You got silk, gold, spice, and then you got the cardboard tokens for money, as well as cardboard tokens for contracts.
And you have big spice and little spice.
Yes.
Big silk and little silk.
Right. Or big boys and little boys, according to Megan. And so, and then you got the little cards, a little bit of texture on the cards for the different action spaces that you can go to on the board.
I always preferred baby spice and scary spice to big spice and little spice.
Thank you, Randy.
Big spice is part of the Spice Girls now. We established. So.
Yeah. All right. So as far as quality, I mean, I like the fact that they're shaped. They're not, standard meeples.
Like cubes or anything.
The dice are they're standard, but they're at least colorful. The cardboard's a decent. I mean, it's not great, but it's decent. Cards, they do have a texture.
There's slight texture.
They're just like
I didn't really have trouble picking it up off the table, so that was a positive for me.
Yeah. I'd say all in all, I think it's probably about a 7 is where I'm at.
I think so too. I mean, maybe a little higher just because you get so much. You get a lot of bits in the game, so maybe 7.5.
Yeah.
So
it probably would give them an 8 if they put legs on the camels, because that really bothers me.
It doesn't bother me. I think that it would be weird if they had legged camels. So
that would be weird.
It was just very weird.
You don't see those everywhere you go to the zoo.
And that's the point. So, I mean, how many legless camels have you seen? Not many. So
I see a lot right there.
Right, and that's what makes it kind of special.
Mm-hmm.
So special camels.
You can't really play the camel walk song with the camels because they're not walking; they're just sitting there.
True. Thank you for pointing that out.
Yeah.
Anyway, moving on. So next would be rules, right?
No,
or is it theme? Theme.
Have you forgotten how to do this?
I'm tired.
Okay. So the theme obviously is Marco Polo-ish.
Right. You're traveling down the Silk Road trying to get rid of resources to meet contracts. Several different ways to get the contracts, but that's probably the biggest way you're going to score the most points is through contracts. And then as well as while you're traveling, you're setting up like your buildings or businesses in each of the cities so that then you can have your voyage cards. So you have 2 of them where if you can link the right kind of cities, you get bonus points at the end of the game.
Your trade routes.
Right.
Basically.
So that's the 2 main ways of scoring. There are some other ways of scoring as well. There's income scoring that you could potentially get. You can, if you set up a shop in Beijing at the end of the game, you can trade in resources to get some additional points there. And that's one complaint that I've seen on the Board Game Geek guilds is that that's a way to get all how you can break the game is that you can just collect lots of resources and just spend them off in Beijing and score a bunch of points that way.
Oh, the theme seems to have bled right into gameplay.
But so lots. You're right. But lots of different little elements to traveling the Silk Road and being able to score off.
So thematically, the board is of Asia, and it's it's kind of a cartoonish almost version of the continent.
Yeah.
It's I think it's functional and it's it's pretty cool looking.
It's pretty neat looking. It's not as colorful as maybe some of the more modern games are today, but it's not super bland either.
Yeah.
So I like it.
And it's distinct. You can tell where everything goes.
Yeah.
It's not. There's no confusion on the board, even though it is busy. It's everything has its place. And
Right.
I like games that have big boards that are.
They're very and they're functional.
You like big boards and you cannot lie.
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, as far as the theme, I don't think it's real heavy. It's clearly a pick up, deliver, and move, and I mean, it could be almost any theme, but it works for this what it is.
I agree.
I'd say thematically, it's probably a 6 is where I'm at on it.
What do you think?
I was going to say 7.
I think I agree. I think a 7 is a little bit more appropriate for me, just because of the art I do like the art, and although the theme doesn't push the mechanics, you can still, I don't know, it kind of feels like the traveling aspect part of it really, I think thematically is pretty satisfying in the game. So I go a little bit
because you
higher
travel
with
by
7.
camel over the land, and then water travel is ridiculously expensive.
That's
I
correct.
think you're pushing the camels, but yes.
Well, no, that's why they don't have legs, so they can float.
When you're going across water, they don't float across land.
Unless they're on their skateboards.
Or hoverboards.
All right, moving on.
So moving on to rules. So with our version of the game, we do have all the expansions that are available. So there's several different rule books, but really the gist of the main game is in the main rule book, and then the expansions just add a little extra stuff to it. Adds a little bit of complexity, but not a whole lot. So if you can get the base game down, play it a couple times, I think you'll get the expansions quite easily. Setup is on the first page. It's actually really well done, in my opinion. It's clearly marked on what step and where to go and what to do each way, because there is a lot of bits, and so it can seem a little intimidating at first, but if you just follow through each individual step, it sets up in relatively no time at all. And then it's got a really nice page for player setup as well. But then everything is color coded after that. So based off of what the type of actions and where you're at on the board. And so it does a really good job of laying it out. So you can see clearly where you're at in the board versus where you're at in the rule book and what each part of it does. And then at the end of the rule book, it talks about the bonus actions that are available and then any additional variants that are available as well, and a nice little in-game scoring. And the best part is very functional cheat sheets. So on the back, it'll give you the bonus actions, and then on the front, lays out everything you can possibly do. So I think the rule book is really good. I think the first time we played this, I had very little difficulty learning the game. I'm going to give it a 9. I think it did a really good job. Okay.
All right, moving on to gameplay. So this game has a lot of things going for it.
It really does.
The whole aspect of traveling around to try to reach all the different destinations to drop your buildings, I think is cool. the placement of dice to take actions, and it took me several plays to get the fact that you could place on the same places as other people. I always struggle with that because I'm so used to worker placement. Once you go there,
blocks it.
I had to ask that question a time or two.
Yeah, so. it's one of those things that I forget every time I go back to play. Get I can go there. Yeah. That doesn't make any sense. It's blocked. I can't go there. I don't think three-dimensionally when I'm playing worker placement games. I got to touch the board. I can't be on top of other people's dice. That's like it causes me to cringe every time we play. I have a phobia. Yes.
So what I like about the action selection of the dice placement is that it's all based off of dice and the number of pips on the dice that you place. So it's kind of acts like a grid per se. So if you place a 6, like on the camels, it'll tell you get 6 camels. Whereas if you placed a 3, you would only get 3 camels. But later, additional action might require additional dice. And it's the lowest number of the 2 or 3 dice that you place will determine what number of resources you get. So for example, on the gold, you have to place 3 dice. And so if you place 3 dice and it might be a 3, 4, and 5, you would have to look at the 3 section and see what you would get. And then it's very similar for the other actions as well, like movement. You have to do 2 dice, lowest number of the dice will tell you how many spaces you can move if you can afford it, because you got to pay gold as well. And then when you got the selection to be able to select contracts, you have to place 1, and if you do 6, you can be able to select up to 2 contracts and get additional bonuses for the 5 and 6 spot. But I really like that that ability of being able to place dice. It's the lowest number of pips that determines what action level or power of that placement you get. I think that was a pretty unique idea at the time that we first played it.
So this is your first playthrough. What did you think?
Yeah. It actually was very easy to learn, and it was a lot of fun. I really, at first, was trying to do a little bit of everything, but then I realized you really have to pick a thing and stick with it, particularly if you want to put houses all over the map to fulfill all of your cards. But I got a little bit distracted because I had one of the contracts. Sorry, I almost said quests again. One of the contracts
kind of like quests, though.
was worth 16 victory points, and I couldn't pass that up.
Right.
So, shorted me 2 camels for the end there, but
So another key part that can really help with movement or completing quests is that every time at the beginning of the game you randomly, or if you want as a group, select which character you get to play as. Each character has an asynchronous ability. And so there's some characters that can really help you do both, where you can actually do complete quests and contracts. See, you jinxed me. Completing contracts and be able to move at the same time, because they have that ability to really kind of move quickly and place the businesses as they move along. So it just depends who you get. Your character ability is really nice because you got an extra die, which is very valuable in this game, and you get free contracts. Whereas mine was all about I started in Beijing, so that gave me 10 victory points at the very beginning that I didn't have to work for. So that was really nice, as well as the ability to sell off resources at the end of the game. And then Megan had one I've never played with, and I don't know if you ever have, but it's the character that allows you to remove the dice off of one of the action selections, and then take one of those dice and then move into this gold section for free. So I thought it was a little unique, and so we kind of figured out together that timing is really important, because she could be able to place 2, let's say, on this section for the silk, remove those with her special ability, and then go there again because it just opened up. So she'd be able to do those multiple actions as well as go into the Khan's favor section for free. So it was a really neat, unique ability, and I never played with that before. But it's really cool. Those asynchronous powers are really cool. A lot of people think that it's one of the highlights that I hear a lot of people talk about how powerful all the abilities are.
I think it's probably one of the first that really capitalize on asynchronous games that we've seen, and then now it's like fairly common. You start seeing games like Whistle Mountain and several of the other games we've recently reviewed that have had abilities like that. I think the Magnificent had something like that. There's been a lot of them, but I think it's become much more prominent since.
So what would you score it overall?
Overall, I'd give it an 8. I really liked it.
I'm probably right there with you, that an 8. I think it's a good, solid game. Maybe 8.5 on this one. thinking of some of the other ones we've reviewed recently. I think 8.5 is probably more appropriate for it.
I think that's where I was going to go with it myself. Is I think an 8.5. It's a solid game. I'll never complain if someone brings it up, and I'll volunteer at any time to play it. I really enjoy this
Pretty
game.
sure you
I
volunteered.
was going to say, you were very excited for this one
I
tonight.
did. I think I did.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think you kind of wet your pants there a little bit.
No,
getting it off the shelf.
not that I haven't diddled all over myself. But this particular time I did. So yeah, I was able to hold it.
We appreciated that.
Yes.
You're welcome.
Yes, our floor appreciates it. I'm still trying to get stains out from last time.
Well, hey.
All right, so this is Marco Polo.
Voyages of Marco Polo.
So if you haven't got it, check it out. It's a great game.
It really is. I hope you like it, and hope you enjoyed our review of it.
Number 2 is pretty good too. So we haven't reviewed that one yet, but it'll be coming up soon, I'm sure.
So, all right. Well, remember, hit the notification bell, hit the subscribe button, and we'll get clued in on the next review that we do. We got our Western Wednesdays series going on, so hopefully you can watch those, enjoy those as well. So, have a good night.
Bye.
Bye. But it's not long enough
It's
yet.
cut this way intentionally.
That
Because your
baby was
barber's
cut this
blind?
way.
Because I'm styling
Styling and profiling?
profiling now, Randy.
Because you're single and ready to mingle.
That's right.
Everyone in camera land.